Good evening and welcome to Bottom Line, our Enlightenment Campaign Talk Show. Tonight we shall be taking an in-depth look at National Civil Registration Authority, or NCRA. It was established in 2016 and we have in the studios Mohamed Massaquoi. You will have to learn me more about the pronunciation of that name. Mobashi.
It's Mobashi.
Mohamed Massaquoi is the new Director General of NCRA. NCRA, as we all know, now encompasses BAS and DES departments, Office of the Registrar and Administrator General. They are all now under NCRA. But what is NCRA all about? What do we know about NCRA? Why was it established? What do we know about it? And what are its major development strides? Mr. Massaquoi is here in the studios to help us talk more on how we view and how we visualize NCRA. Welcome to Bottom Line.
Thank you so much, my brother.
You can also be part of the program by sending your messages to 030-022-639, 030-022-639 for SMS. And of course, you can join us on our Facebook page, SLBC TV channel 31. My name is Joseph Ibn-Nakapua and this is Bottom Line.
Mohamed Massaquoi, as he talks about his achievements in line with the mandate of the NCRA, such as the government payroll verification, collaboration with the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, the CRVS country assessment and regional validation, the rapid health facility assessment for births and deaths registration, engagement with stakeholders, and establishing a credit reference and digital identity, not forgetting the commemoration of the first CRVS Day in Africa. All this coming up this Tuesday at 7 p.m. on Bottom Line on the SLBC, the nation's public service broadcaster. Don't forget you can also catch us on Facebook and on other social media platforms. Miss it, miss out.
Now let's get started, Mr. Massaquoi, Director General NCRA. Talk to us about the legal framework setting up this National Civil Registration Authority. How was it established and why?
Thank you so much, Massaquoi. The National Civil Registration Authority was established by an Act of Parliament dated 30th June 2016, and what precipitated its establishment was to contain a number of anomalies that occurred in the past, namely to contain waste of resources, duplication of resources, corruption, and issues associated or having to deal with identity fraud and documentation, and importantly also to promote democratic good governance and accountable service delivery. And now you will recall that before 2016, many institutions had various forms of registration. Many institutions were involved in registration. For instance, there were those who did registration for immigration services, for birth and death, and for driving licenses, many forms of identification systems. And now what we saw in this country was that our country faced serious international embarrassment and ranging from identity fraud and some other corrupt means, where people's identity became an issue of dynamic situation, but you will change your personal details to suit an existing situation. For instance, if you wanted a visa and you wanted to have it within a particular time, you will change your birth details or your personal details to suit the situation, the circumstance. You wanted access to some employment opportunity, you will change your personal details to suit that situation so that you have employment. You wanted a particular service delivery or assistance for government institutions, you will change your details. All of those ones you revealed to me amounted to corruption and undermining accountable service delivery and good governance that embarrass government and the people of this country as a whole. And because of that, government of Sierra Leone and its development partners put their thoughts together and said, we should put an end to all of these waste and corruption and duplication of resources, and to see how we can rebrand the image of Sierra Leone in terms of identity management, to have legitimate identity management system. And then how we dealt with it, what they did was that to do some sort of consultations to see what obtained in the past and how that could be ameliorated. And then they saw the need, the imperative need to have an integrated civil registration management system that will encompass legal identity and all of those forms of registration that were done by many institutions at different times for different purposes, etc., etc. And then what we now have from that day, June 30th, 2016, is an integrated civil registration and birth statistics management system and identity, legal identity, bringing all of those ones together, managed by the NCRA, putting ourselves as a hub for data that's intended to support all institutions, including foreign missions and foreign organizations, in terms of the need for data and any other vital information on citizens and non-citizens resident in this country.
Maybe you want to talk to me about the relevance or otherwise of the new system that you are now operating, that we are operating as a country, the integrated registration protocol that you're working at. But then let's go back to the anomalies that you just identified. That before now there used to be disjointed registration all over the place. Yes, corruption all over the place. Do you think that is a thing of the past? Do you think Sierra Leoneans, in your words, who still want to tailor their situation to either job purposes or other, is that not the norm even as we sit here? Has that been addressed, do you think?
That is the challenge we have. We are fighting that challenge, and we as a government, we are determined to contain it. We must put an end to it, and we have made so much effort to strive to making adequate to respond to those anomalies, that we will contain them comprehensively, and no one will escape it. And we have had instances.
The question is how? How are you doing that?
We have our system is digital. What we're building, what we are strengthening is to have a digital identity management system that you can't escape. For instance, with a click of your details, Joseph, Brenda, Kapua, some information will require of you, one of that everything about your status.
Yeah,
in that circumstance, you will not be able to alter any of those details without going through the prescribed procedures that the law says.
How are the different institutions across the country empowered to detect this fraud? For example, I want to seek admission from a college. I'm required to submit my credentials. I have my birth certificate to be presented, and all of these are fraudulently submitted in a way. You can still go to some of these entities where possible, maybe even create one for yourself and submit the same. Has that been addressed? How can the institution, the recipient institution, be able, how are they empowered to be able to detect that which you have is far removed from actually what the actual...
That is the integrated system that we have. Those forms of registration that obtained in the past by many institutions have all been integrated into NCRA, that will now provide information, will interoperate with those institutions based on their need. For instance, if you went for your passport at the immigration department, you would be required to confirm your details with the NCRA. For instance, we should be able to provide the immigration department whether the information you have given to them for the issuance of the passport that you want is correct, is in line with what we have. And by so doing, we have been able to detect people who have attempted to build the system. Like I have always said, the new direction is unbeatable. We are digital. Once we get the information, the immigration department checks with us, for instance, to validate what you have given them for the passport. We will inform them and we will share the information with them as required by law. By so doing, you will not change your situation. You will not change your details to suit the need for that for the passport at that time. You will not have multiple passports. You will not have multiple birth certificates. You will not have multiple ID cards. You will not have multiple ID numbers. You will not have multiple PIN codes, etc., etc. That is the reason why, in fact, with the birth and death, with support from government and partners, we have digitalized birth records as far back as the 1800s. It's digital, and very soon what we're going to do also, we're going to digitalize all other registration records.
How do they do that?
Marriage, on divorce, on adoptions. That's what we are working together. It's a collaborative effort we are doing. Administrator General's office handles marriages, divorce, etc., etc., and the courts. We get the records. That's the link. We are relating with all of those sectors that are involved in registration.
I understand you also now embrace the birth and death that you were just talking about.
Oh yes,
and now
times
digitalizing that unit. What was the magic? Because we have instances we have Mr. A, for example, who say, I lost my birth certificate some time ago, just because they want to change that, and then they will go to the birth and death, obtain another birth and death certificate. So in the process of digitalizing that unit, were you able to uncover instances where, for example, Mr. Massaquoi is having, let's say, 2 or more records of birth registration?
Oh yes, we have that system in place through the biometric means. That when you have, in the case of you, Mr. Kapua, if you want now to try that system, you can try it, or we'll track you through the biometric features that we have. Then we also have what the law prescribes for us to assign to every resident in Sierra Leone the unique national identification number. That is non-repeatable, non-replicating. That number is assigned to you from birth to death, from your entrance to the exit. And even when someone dies, that number is not assigned to anyone else. That's the system.
What are the penalties in the event of any, defaulting party? What does the act propose?
The law describes that, for instance, if you give misleading information to the authority during the capture of your details, and it's proven that it's misleading, then the law will punish you. The symptoms are there, ranging from some fines and some other means. It's clear in the act. At the same time, that is even more the reason why we are even able to track a number of public and civil servants who are engaged in those sort of practices that cause so much waste for government and that indulge in corruption. Where some people, one person will have 2 or 3 PIN codes and some other identification numbers. Through our digital biometric system, we are able to capture them.
Yes, I'll stay with you on that. Talk to me about that government payroll exercise that was done in 2018, last year, I suppose.
Oh yes.
Talk to me about the outcome of that exercise.
Oh, it was very interesting and successful exercise that this government has been able to do or was able to do. That past governments, successive governments from the independence, were not able to do. We as a new direction government are able to do it in a month's time, and we produce a report to government, where we are able to track thousands of people that are suspicious cases of either not being available, what they collect salaries from government, or people who had mismatched names completely. Those ones, for instance, you will say there are cases of those who wanted employment in some institutions but did not have requirements. So what they did, they used information, other people's documents, to access to get the employment. We were able to track them. There are those who collected salaries on behalf of other people, who tracked them. There are those who, for various kind of cases that we uncovered, that saved billions of reals from government.
Who prosecutes them? Or what was happening?
Well, we made a number of recommendations to government, and the government has been looking into it, and I'm aware that a number of actions have been initiated already to warrant further investigation. That if you think you have a legitimate case, you can go to NCRA and some other. We have put the system in place so that you can face us and then you challenge the system. That no, this what you said about me is not correct. But thank God, so far nobody has been able to beat our system.
Yes, no, you have certain attitudes, you have certain conduct outlawed by your act, that if you do X, Y, Z, this is what happens to you. Now, in carrying out that exercise, during that verification, where you realize or noticed that a few people had done the undone, do you wait until they come to your institution to check or cross-check their files when you are convinced that certain mishap has been done? Do you have a role to play in that circumstance?
That is why you have not had any noise, because we produce evidences from people that we discovered had issues. We are involved in some other practices that are very much abnormal, that are suspicious. But what we have done, I agree with the law prescribes measures, but because this is a responsible government, a government of the people, where we feel for the people, but at the same time we cannot condone criminality and corruption, we give more time for people to clarify their issues, the cases we had against them. And because we could not get them, what government has not done is that there are cases of people government has decided to put a hold on the payment of their salaries until they clarify their cases. And so that is one action that government has taken that is helping the situation. There are those who will not show up, who have not shown up there. They will be ghosts. We cannot see them. We cannot wait for that. We will take action as government on those ones without reference to anyone. That is why we are given ample time, because we are sensitive to the welfare, to the survival of people. We don't want to take hesitation. That is why since November last year we presented a report to government. A lot of investigations have been going on to see that we have a clear picture on what our report is. And it has not been challenged at all. That is what we are doing now.
Is there any role, and if at all, how does NCRA's activities, or how do their activities factor into this government's main agenda of free quality education, if at all? Is there a role that your institution can play in enhancing that?
In fact, the role of NCRA is a foundation for the free quality education the government is providing. And it started because about the time His Excellency President Bio announced the free quality education. The Ministry of Education used NCRA system to inform the planning process that they have to identify who the children have to be targeted, or the school children to be targeted for the free quality education, and we provided the data to government that help in their planning purpose. So that is one critical thing that you will see that the NCRA will do in terms of providing timely data. Otherwise, government will have incurred some other expenditure to go on the surveys, to track or to identify children that should be supported. But because we are the hub of data, national data, then we just provided what Ministry of Education wanted to guide them plan for the free quality education. So it is the foundation for it, in fact. The work of NCRA for basic education or free quality education is huge.
How are you monitoring that role insofar as your intervention into that aspect of the free quality education is an issue?
Well, we are part of it because we have, like I said, we have the population data, and we update that data on a daily basis. Mind you, our system is permanent, it's compulsory, it's universal, it occurs on a daily basis. Events that that fall within the remit of the NCRA, ranging from that, death, causes of death, marriage, divorce, notification of marriage, judicial separation, recognition and legitimization, identity management, etc., etc. Because we update our record on a daily basis. So if, for instance, at any one point in time, the Minister of Education needs some information on a particular case, which we will provide to support the ministry, to support the ministry with the information that they need. So because we have that sort of information on all of it, we are able to support the ministry in terms of monitoring everything that we do, particularly relating to people or school-going children.
Now, Mr. Massaquoi, what do we know about, you talk about CRVS, or we have CRVS also, that's a civil registration and vital statistics. What do we know about that?
Civil registration and vital statistics is a novel idea in Sierra Leone and in the African continent. You have been abroad, you have seen how things operate there with people, how they manage their population. And now, African governments we saw the need that African governments were incurring so much expenditure in providing services and for the people, for their people, without any precise information in terms of data on people, and that they saw the need that civil registration is done on a permanent, it's compulsory and a continuous basis. And with the data that you collect on a daily basis on people, well, from birth to death, all the events that occur in one's life cycle is captured through the establishment of a permanent civil register. That register informs government decisions in terms of its intervention. For instance, for service delivery, that register, that the civil register, should be able to inform government how many people are in this country. Precisely, not by estimation or guess. Who is in, for instance, my village in Singapore? Who and who are there? What is happening to people there? Who should be able to provide that information? For instance, let me just cite an instance. During the mudslide, when government was grappling with the actual people that were affected, it was civil registration data that captured, that was able to inform government that this number of people were in that community. It's not a guess. So because of civil registration, we are able to support government to plan, for government to plan its interventions in a precise and factual manner. For instance, with civil registration itself, of course, with elections. Election registration, voter registration is done every 5 years. You will agree with me that within the 5 years we will meet some people, or many people. And but because civil registration is done on a daily basis, it's updated. That is why the NCRA and its partners, what we have now decided as a government is that we will be conducting annual data audits to publish, to let government and partners know what the number of births that occurred for 2019 and deaths that occurred and what caused those deaths. That's a data audit we will be conducting. That's just what we've had from government and its partners. So we'll talk about that very soon. And if, for instance, like I said, voter registration is done every 5 years, it's huge expenditure that government bears and the partners. And the civil registration is done on a daily basis. In the opinion of government and international partners that support democratic process in this country, or in Africa as a whole, they see civil registration as a means to save costs and the more reliable means, because it will not miss you. You will not live so alone for 5 years. You have cost to come one day. Unlike voter registration that is done only 2 weeks or 3 weeks at most, every 5 years. Take for instance the census that is done. Census is done every 7 to 10 years. You think you will not miss people? You will miss them. But civil registration, because it's done on a daily basis, continuous basis, it should be able to inform government precisely on the population data of the country, what should be interpreted, analyzed, and to be able to guide government intervention in terms of demographic spread,
yes,
etc.
We'll come to that aspect of the program insofar as getting the actual population of a country is concerned, because I'll be drawing the role of Statistics Sierra Leone also into all of this insofar as the population of the country is concerned, see the roadmap in all of this. But then talking about the civil registration, the vital statistics, you also have regional validation done. How was that done? What sample did you use to probably come up with, yes, say this is the position on this validation?
No, what we had was, yes, true, we had a regular validation. The validation was about the data we, NCRA, and all other MDAs and international organizations collaborating with CRVS system in this country gathered during the 14 days of field exercise. How did that come about? Our governments requested the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, that is the Secretariat for Civil Registration and Statistics, to undertake a comprehensive country assessment on CRVS that will lead to the development of a costed strategic plan. What that means, why did we ask for that? We are aware as a government that in 2016, that assessment was undertaken on Sierra Leone. But Sierra Leone had references. We did not go through the assessment. We did not succeed. We did not pass the assessment. And we are given some references that should be accomplished before the UN will come to undertake another comprehensive assessment. And I'm able to go back last year as a responsible government. And we identified those areas, those challenges that we had, that we should work against to be able to recognize as a government, as a country that is in line with international best practices, that comply with international guidelines, notably the United Nations, the European Union, etc., etc. What they say about a functioning civil registration system? Because we as a government, we are convinced that we have been able to accomplish, if not all, but many of it, or most of it. We asked the United Nations that we can come and assess us, where we are with civil registration. Importantly, because they want to see how committed is the political leadership. Do we have that? We have an excellent political leadership supporting the CRPS in this country. That is why this government continues to support with a serious commitment with every resource that we need to make sure that we are in line with national standards, and we are bringing together our development partners to support the process. Now, we requested the UN to come and do the assessment that we are ready. They asked, we are there in 2016 and you did not accomplish X, Y, Z. Can we come? We said, yes, we can come. Possibly. And then they came. They were here on the 28th January. We took them to His Excellency the President. And the President, as usual in his wisdom, confirmed his commitment to the United Nations and other partners that we are there, the country team that we are there, that as President of this country, is more than committed to support CRPS, because he thinks, he is very much sure that it is a way to curb corruption, it is a way to improve on good governance, it is a way to promote accountable service delivery for his people. And then they went into action. The UN prescribed, they brought to our attention all what they wanted to put on the table to be able to follow, to see that there is in line. And the assessment started. This assessment is not all about government, but government is on it, as well as development partners, the UN agencies, the European Union, the World Bank, ADB, all of them here in this country are part of the assessment. We all met with His Excellency the President. Interestingly, what I want to tell you, for the attention for everyone during this discussion, is that in February, March, when they saw the things that we have done as a country, the commitment that President Bio is showing, the new direction of government, the United Nations wrote to us late March that the report that they are getting from the international consultants that they sent to carry out the assessment of Sierra Leone is satisfactory, and what they recommended, that even when we have not completed the assessment comprehensively, they want Sierra Leone to share its experience, to present its report at this year's Ministers' Conference on Civil Registration that will held in October in Namibia. Tell me, Mr. Kapua, if we are not doing well, would they have asked us to do that?
The program is Bottom Line and it's coming to you on Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation, television and also our online platforms. My guest tonight is the Director General of the National Civil Registration Authority, Mohamed Massaquoi, and he's here to talk to us about that entity, the NCRA. What is it all about? What can we do insofar as integrating our registration process in the country is concerned? We'll go for a short break, but just before we do that, let's see what our viewers have been saying through the messages coming in. Well done, Director NCRA. You are flying the name of Masalum in identifying management and to work towards the President's new direction. Thumbs up. When are we going to have our national identity cards? Can the DG explain whether, can the DG, I mean you the DG, explain whether NCRA will be decentralized, because we notice that everything is focused in Freetown. With Mr. Massaquoi at the helm of affairs, we have seen tremendous transformation in helping government identify serious payroll anomalies that have brought serious gains to the government, is it? By weeding out people who ought not to have benefited from the taxpayers. So that's some of the messages coming in. We continue to encourage you to send them to 030-022-639. You can also send your questions, your concerns, also to our Facebook page, SLBC TV Channel 31.
Coming up this Tuesday on Bottom Line, Joseph Igbende Kapua talks to the Director General of the National Civil Registration Authority, Mohamed Massaquoi, as he talks about his achievements in line with the mandate of the NCRA, such as the government payroll verification, collaboration with the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, the CRVS country assessment and regional validation, the rapid health facility assessment for births and deaths registration, engagement with stakeholders, and establishing a credit reference and digital identity, not forgetting the commemoration of the first CRVS Day in Africa. All this coming up this Tuesday at 7 p.m. on Bottom Line on the SLBC, the nation's public service broadcaster. Don't forget you can also catch us on Facebook and on other social media platforms. Miss it, miss out.
Welcome back to Bottom Line and to my guest here, Mr. Massaquoi. Question here for you with respect to the growing concern about the national ID cards, production of it or the lack of it. What's happening to the national ID cards?
We are on course with that, and we want to assure the listeners, the viewers, that because of the commitment of government, that is one reason, in fact, that the partners or the union that is assessing this training, so that the government is committed to providing legal identity for its people. That's one indicator of the efforts we are doing as a government. Now, what has government done about that? Government has committed resources to support a critical phase in the cycle of producing identification cards for people. What's that stage? The stage of giving people opportunity to confirm the details that they are captured during registration, that indeed there are no errors. What the information we have reflects we are very safe. That is very critical, because you will not want to have to give anybody's identity card and he or she goes for some support somewhere and then he or she is barred from accessing it because of an error. That's very important. That is a legal prescription in the laws of this country. So now government has committed resources for that. We are almost done with the procurement process that will lead to that exercise. And we are waiting an opinion from the National Public Procurement Authority and thereafter the law officers. And then
So generally, what time frame are we talking about?
Well, we as a government, what we have done is that we all of those that should let us do the right thing are on course now.
Are we likely to have the ID cards this year?
That is the commitment of government. That is the commitment of government. We have done so much towards that. In addition to what we are doing in terms of the procurement process, we will have a number of partners.
Is the commitment highly likely?
It's very much more than likely, in fact. It will happen. We are there. But we don't want to miss any step that will embarrass people. Mind you, the cards we want to produce is that you should be proud of them whenever you produce a card anywhere you go in the world. Beyond Australia, and that card will enhance your free movement across ECOWAS. It's in line with the international dictates. The ICAO is ICAO compliance, ECOWAS compliance.
And this text is talking about whether NCRA will be decentralized, because according to him, we notice that everything is just focused in Twitter.
Oh
no,
it is not. It's not. NCRA is already decentralized largely. NCRA is represented in every district in this country. We are one of the few institutions in this country that have offices, including in the new districts of Karine and Falaba and even Bont Island. We are everywhere. Our offices are in every district operational, fully operational with support of government. And just what we're going to do now as experts, in the coming months we will soon announce we're going to establish structures in all chiefdoms in this country and big communities. Why do we want to do that? We want to make sure that we have real-time data on events that occur that are of interest to government and partners. Those events of when a birth occurs in their village, for instance, in Lagos, we should be able to get that information timely. If a death occurs in some other village, anybody, wherever in this country, we should be informed, we should be notified. And then that's what we use to update our records. Mind you, I have said, we have decided with our partners. That is why the EU are supporting the CRBS big time. We will be able to conduct data audit on an annual basis. To see how many people died in 2019, how many people were born in 2019, and that will continue to go on. So that what the data will have the permanent civil register we have that is intended to serve multiple purposes should meet that desire.
Now, let's look at another critical aspect of your operations and probably marry it to that of Statistics Sierra Leone. Talking about or elaborating on the discrepancies between your work, seeming discrepancies if you like, between your work and that of Statistics Sierra Leone on the population of our country. Now, NCRA, from our research, you confirm that, NCRA says that they have recorded about 5.2 million Sierra Leoneans, while Statistics Sierra Leone is talking about, well, according to the 2015 housing and population census, they recorded a little over 7 million or thereabout. What is happening? If you, based on the day-to-day registration of Sierra Leoneans across the country, we're talking about 5.2 million Sierra Leoneans, and you have another entity, again, talking about 7 million or thereabout. Is your work targeting particular species of Sierra Leoneans, whereas Statistics Sierra Leone is also doing something different altogether? Why the seeming difference in terms of number?
There's no competition. We had a census in 2015 that was done by Statistics Sierra Leone that confirms a population figure of about 7.2 or 3 million people in this country. Now we have the single registration that is done on a daily basis, and then since 2016 when the NCRA was given back, and we have a population of about 5.2, approximately 5.2 million people. So meaning we still have a gap of about 2 million or a little more population to capture. Now, Statistics Sierra Leone, the head of Statistics Sierra Leone is on the board of, is a statutory board member of NCRA. That tells you that SSL and NCRA are the SLBC inextricable. We are working together. Even the technical committee we have, the members of that technical committee is SSL, NCRA, and National Electoral Commission. That's how we relate. Coming to the figures, we are not disputing or confirming the figures that we are talking about. What we are saying is that the census says this figure is available in this country. Since that time we have registered people. We will continue to register people. We have not had that. And importantly, that's the reason why our government being meticulous and responsible enough. We are giving people the opportunity during the confirmation of the details of those registrants, those data that we capture during the registration, to come up and confirm their details. We also have the opportunity to give to people concurrently to be done with the confirmation to register. So if for instance you have not been captured, you have not registered, you have an opportunity. Though it's done on a daily basis, but you have an opportunity to come forward and register. By so doing, we should be able to confirm precisely, not by approximation. We will not approximate. Civil registration is precision, not guess what the population of this country is like, and then we will publish it, because it's, like I said to you, we're going to have annual data audit that Statistics Sierra Leone, National Electoral Commission, and other LDAs are members.
Is it that people, Mr. Massaquoi, are not running to you, NCRA, to have them registered, or your registrants, if you like, are not actually reaching out to register people? Because look at what is happening. The Statistics Sierra Leone, within a few weeks, conducted their census and came out with this figure. Now, you started your operations some time back. We're talking about months now, and up to this moment we are talking about 5.2 million or thereabout. So it tells that something is wrong somewhere, considering the nature of your exercise, trying to capture every detail, and that which we have 7 million or thereabout. They are the, if you like, the legal entity in determining probably the population of this country. It's about 7 million. Something is wrong somewhere. Talk to me about it.
This is the situation. For instance, I said to you, where really you have a functional civil registration system, you will not need much of statistics, because everything is analyzed on a daily basis, on an annual basis published. That's indisputable. All the world over, and African continent, that's very clear. And now, census was done for a couple of weeks in 2015. And registration since the part of NCRA commenced on the 30th of June 2016. And up to now, 2 to 3 years now, we have not been able to capture the information to get the people that Statistics Stadium said they registered or they counted in 2015. Many people, so that like I have said, we work on precision, we are not estimating. So that the need for us to support the civil registration so that we can prove the information that we get from people, from institutions. In the past, I told you that precipitated the establishment of NCRA. Before 2016, data coming from Sierra Leone was misleading.
As a person, Mr. Mohamed Massaquoi, as a person, do you believe we have up to 7 million Sierra Leoneans?
I will not want to comment on that until the process is ongoing.
As we sit here, as we speak,
as we sit here, we have not had 5.2 or just 5.2 million for the last 3 years. We have been working. We have been registering people.
How do you coordinate with Statistics Sierra Leone?
We are partners. We are relating very well.
Are you compare notes?
I told you already. The Statistics General of Statistics Sierra Leone is a statutory member of the NCRA board. That tells you that he is involved in the operations, in the management of the civil registration of data statistics. He takes decision on how he is there. We do the daily operations and they decide on what should be done at the NCRA. It's part of the process. What I have said, we have not been able to get 7 million or more people that the census said they had in 2015. And that has to be proved. And the records will be published, what we have. That is the reason why all the partners, if you read the reports,
do we have a member of NCRA on the board or management or what have you at Statistics Sierra Leone?
Well, not on the board or not on the council, SSL council, but we have a technical committee comprising NCRA, NEC and SSL that will sit together and discuss technical issues. So that's the relationship we have.
Where are we with NCRA? Where are we now?
Where we are now is that we are continuing the registration of people is ongoing, and then we are looking at the cases that we uncovered during the last payroll verification last year. At the same time, we are putting measures in place now to establish permanent registration centers, like as the law says, across the country in all 190 or more chiefdoms in this country, including big communities, because we want to have real-time data on events as and when they occur in communities in chiefdoms. We're going to have offices there, we're going to have staff there. And at the same time, where we are also is that we are in preparations now to be able to produce biometric ID cards for people. Mind you, the Honorable Minister of Finance in his budget reading last year for 2019 informed this nation that government has allocated resources for the production of biometric ID cards that are ECOWAS compliant, that Sierra Leoneans or citizens or residents of this country or holders of Sierra Leone ID cards will travel across ECOWAS unhindered. And that is where we are also. We are moving that process forward. At the same time, the comprehensive country assessment that the UN is doing on Sierra Leone is ongoing.
You just mentioned the US. Apart from the government of Sierra Leone, do you have other funders?
Oh, yes, we have support. From the European Union is supporting the government of Sierra Leone on the CRVS big time. That the EU.
What is the nature of the support?
Both financial and technical. We have 4 or 5 technical experts now. One an international legal expert, one an ICT, another an ICT expert, a digital identity management expert, and a CRVS expert. That this, in fact, the team lead of the EU projects that the NCRA is managing now is one of those that started the CRVS in Africa, Canada. So all of those ones constitute the package that the EU is providing in addition to the funding. It's both financial and technical.
All right, let's go through the last set.
So also the United Nations Development Program, the UNICEF, the World Bank, they are all supporting the NCRA, CRVS. Mind you, I was going to refer you to a report that the partners did on the elections, the 2018 elections. The observers, the EU, the African Union, ECOWAS, the report that they wrote, they recommended strongly that they see civil registration as a means of save costs for future elections in this country, because the civil register that is updated on a daily basis should serve as a basis to inform voter registration, voter register for the conduct of elections in future. The reason why they did that is because they have a similar system in their countries, and it is proven. So whereas voter registration is only every 5 years, civil registration is on a daily basis. So which of those two systems do you think is cost effective and reliable? Definitely.
What's happening to that recommendation? Because remember, when we talk about elections, it is largely highly likely that the National Electoral Commission will be working with data as provided by statistics.
It's not only the Electoral Commission, it's every other service delivery institution in this country. Maybe, for instance, the NRA. For you to claim to do your tax transactions, the data, our data will inform NRA on what to do with your system. For you to claim your social security benefit with NACIT, our data should be able to inform.
It's NEC likely, because NEC has the responsibility, for example, in elections, to register voters. They have that money to do that. Are they likely, with this development, to rely on data provided by NCRA?
That's what the law says. Yes, NEC registers voters. The law says, the act says, the act of NCRA 2016 says, civil registration, civil register should inform voter register. Voter register should be extracted from the civil register. That's very clear, and there's no dispute about it. And that is what the donors that supported the elections, the donors that observed the elections, recommended. That in their opinion, because since they support voter elections generally, in their opinion, civil register saves costs and is more reliable.
All right, let's go through the last set of text messages. Director General NCRA, it is not a mistake done by His Excellency to appoint you, because you really know the issues about the National Civil Registration Authority. Keep flying, the sky is your limit. This is from Koba Musa. So Massaquoi, you have proven to Sierra Leoneans that you know this thing. I'm a concerned citizen. It's been too long we've been waiting, Mr. Director General. When are we having our electronic ID cards? Bravo DG of NCRA for tremendous efforts you've made within the shortest possible time. Keep it up. But do you have offices across the country? DG, what about professionalism of your staff? Can you also tell the public about the welfare of your staff? Government should support you on your activities. You seem determined. I think the two areas really is still the concern about the ID cards, the delay in producing these ID cards. We understand the intricacies you just mentioned in identifying all the loopholes and trying to avoid mistakes, but people are still concerned as to when this is likely to be done. Thankfully, you said highly likely this year, within this year, we will have the ID cards. Maybe you want to confirm that again to your viewers.
Well, what should have been the worry for the people of this country if we did not have resources for that? But I just mentioned that Honorable Vice President in 2019 was informed this nation and the world as a whole that government to the NCRA for biometric identity card production that are ECOWAS compliant. So that is enough to allay the fears or the worry of anyone thinking that it has delayed. What we are doing is that we want to be very much conscious that what we do as a government is right and helpful for the people. You don't want to travel to go to, for instance, Senegal, and you are caught on the borders because of a mistake in the distance or because of one reason or the other. You want to blame government. The government did it related to the media movement. We don't want that.
Let's stop it there. Mr. Massaquoi. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you to talk to us on Bottom Line. His name is Mohamed Massaquoi, and he's the Director General of the National Civil Registration Authority. We hope you've enjoyed this program, and we also hope that you now have an appreciable knowledge about the activities of the National Civil Registration Authority. If you missed part of all of this edition, we are back next week with another edition of Bottom Line. Hopefully we'll have a repeat broadcast of this show. It was produced by Tili Kuruma. Many thanks to the technical crew. If you missed, like I said, part of this program, join us next week. Joseph Igbenda Kapua is the name. Bye-bye.
Bottom line, Joseph Igbenda Kapua talks to the Director General of the National Civil Registration Authority, Mohamed Massaquoi, as he talks about his achievements in line with the mandate of the NCRA, such as the government payroll verification, collaboration with the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, the CRVS country assessment and regional validation, the rapid health facility assessment for births and deaths registration, engagement with stakeholders, and establishing a credit reference and digital identity, not forgetting the commemoration of the first CRVS Day in Africa. All this coming up this Tuesday at 7 p.m. on Bottom Line on the SLBC, the nation's public service broadcaster. Don't forget, you can also catch us on Facebook and on other social media platforms. Miss it, miss out.